Hey everyone, how you doing today? It is Wednesday, and that means we bring on Matt, the mortgage guy. How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing good, Mike. How you doing?
I'm doing well. We're going to make this session kind of a public service announcement. You and I have been in this game for a long time. I watch rates a little bit. You watch rates a lot. And, for the last 10 years or so, it was okay to procrastinate because for a long time, rates got better. Maybe a little change in late 2018. Other than that little window, rates have been trending down. I started this game at 6.5, and, now they're close to 2.5. But something happened on Tuesday over the weekend. The 10-year treasury, as I'm telling people to watch, went up. It touched 1.31, highest since March. And I'm guessing that impacted rates. You probably had a couple of repricings. And I bet your phone was blowing up because people were procrastinating and not locking in. So let's just talk about the life of a mortgage broker when rates go up.
Sure. Well, I mean, especially right now where refinance is so hot. One of the problems I think is there's no people are with when it comes to refinance, they're just kind of, take it easy and okay, that looks great. I'll talk to you next week. And I try to be an anti-salesman where I'm not trying to sell, rates are moving up, act now, you got to get it in, you got to get it locked. But the truth of the matter is rates change every single day. And I had a good conversation last night with somebody where I was apologizing, but I said, listen, I've got no control. I don't control rates. And, I understand from a consumer standpoint, if they don't understand how it works, they might just think, okay, for February, we're going to sell 30-year fixed at 2.75. Then in March, we'll sell it at, but it's a lot more real time and a lot more fluid than that, where rates change not only daily, but multiple times per day. And you can look at a refinance scenario that makes all the sense in the world. Oh, great. I'm going to save $250 a month. This looks good. It's that day's pricing. Tomorrow it's going to be different. The day after that, it's going to be different. And so this really only, becomes a hot topic when we have days like yesterday. And a day like yesterday.
You mean nobody gets upset when rates go lower? I mean, come on.
No. And it's funny because I mentioned that I've got no control. When rates get better, I take all the credit, Hey, I know we disclosed at 2.74. I was able to lock you in at 2.66. I take credit that I'm watching the markets and that, I'm subscribed to all these services that give me a warning which is all true, but really I've got little to no control over what the market does. I can just watch it and advise, okay, I think this is where we want to lock. But I certainly can't advise that we're going to lock based on a conversation we had. And, that was some of the conversations yesterday. I said, listen, I'd love to guarantee you a rate, but a conversation with no application, with nothing submitted to the lender, I can't lock on that. That's not something that I can, the lock button's not available. So until we've got everything submitted, your rate is essentially, dependent on the market. And one thing I will say, I thought about it this morning. You know who's really going to see the effects of this right now? The portion of the market is people who are in contract on a new build that's not done for 6 months.
Yeah.
Because I talk to those people and they say, hey, I don't know if I have to use that lender. Can I use you? And they told me like the new build lenders won't even give people an estimate because they say, hey, listen, it's changing. We'll talk about it in June for your house that's closing in July or August. And these builders are selling stuff that won't be done until December or won't be done until Q1 of 2021. If rates go up 0.5 point and people are buying $600,000 houses, that's a huge difference. I mean, it's from my seat where I see it, some of those people aren't going to qualify if rates tick up, 1/4 or 0.5 point. And we saw yesterday 1/4 from, 2.7 to 2.95 based on the scenario. Everything's different, but 1/4% might not seem like a big deal until you start borrowing $500,000. Then you realize $500,000 times 1/4% is
Real money.
$1,250 a year. It's
Yeah.
over $100 a month.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
interesting stuff.
Yeah. So let's try to make this a public service announcement. Let's demystify it a little bit. So first thing, somebody calls you up to purchase a refi. You talk to them for half an hour. You answer all their questions. You have zero power to do a rate lock at that point, correct?
Correct.
Next step in the situation, you give them a checklist. You got to fill out this. You got to get me copies of that. They send all that back to you. Still cannot do a rate lock. Is that correct?
Correct.
You take that package, you then disperse it to your wholesalers or your lending partners or whatever that part of the transaction is. At that point, you still cannot do a rate lock simply mailing that off, correct?
Well, we could in some circumstances. We could
Really?
submit a loan. We can lock it and send out locked disclosures.
Okay.
And without making it too muddy for people, there's certain reasons why we wouldn't or couldn't lock.
Okay.
One of the major reasons for refinance for me and my team, at least, is so many people have a solar lien. They've got, some sort of energy efficient. They've got all this stuff where getting stuff from the county, getting a lien release for this, or getting a subordination for a home equity line that you have with a lender, this stuff takes time. And believe it or not, lenders, institutions are busy, right? And so with our best efforts and with our team working as hard as we can, sometimes we just know this loan isn't going to close in 30 days. So if we locked you on a 30-day lock and we waited 4 weeks for some podunk credit union to give us the subordination removal, request, then it's all for naught, and we're going to pay more in lock extensions than would have been, it would have been better to wait a week and then lock it. So there's situations like that, but at the very least, you need an application, a full file, submit to lender, lock. You can't just, call and say, hey, I'm reserving one for my buddy Mike Zuber. We're going to submit that next Friday. Go ahead and lock me in. No, it doesn't work that way.
Doesn't work that way. Well, that's good. That's, again, this is why it's important, folks, to act with a sense of urgency. If you are watching the market, nervous about the 10-year treasury, think the market's going to heat up, and you think the treasury goes up, it's a good chance, that mortgage rates will go up. We just saw a 1/4 point yesterday, right? The 10-year touched 1.31. And again, yeah, if you're in California doing a $500,000, $600,000, $700,000 loan, a 1/4 point can affect your debt service and goes from a yes answer to a no answer if you're not careful.
Right. And I think that, it's human nature for people, whether they're, buying a stock or refinancing a mortgage, they always want the best. And if, they're getting a mortgage, I've had the conversations where I think it's going to go lower. And there was some people that when it was 3.75, they, had no idea the refinance made sense. They moved forward, and now they talk to me like, gosh, I should have waited. Well, there's going to be equal number of people that waited, and trust me, I have these conversations daily. I don't know if it's at the bottom. They see it going down and they see it trending down. I'll just wait. And then when it kicks up, then all of a sudden it's like, oh my gosh, now I got to do something. But it'll kick up and inevitably be far enough from the bottom that here they thought about it. It went a little bit lower and they still waited, and then it went up and it's higher than, the moment they looked at it where it made sense.
Yeah,
so
timing's
that's probably the best.
Yeah, timing something that changes 3 times in a day. That's tough to do.
Right.
That's crazy.
I mean, a mortgage guy who's in it all day, every day with 60 plus deals going at any time. My own personal mortgages, I didn't hit the bottom on any of them.
Man.
I looked at it, said, hey, it makes sense to refinance this home at this time. Let's do it. And I think that's the ultimate message, is especially when it comes to refinance. When you look at your scenario, if it makes sense, some people say, if you like it, lock it. That's kind of just what you do. You don't try to time it. Just like you don't try to time the stock market or, buying houses at the absolute bottom. You're just not going to be able to time it. So if it makes sense, if it pencils, whether it's a real estate purchase, whether it's a refinance, whether it's buying into GameStop, I had to throw that in there. I'm sorry.
That's funny. Just needle them. That's funny.
Right. I know. Sorry.
It's okay. So again, trying to stay on the public service announcement. Would you say normal times rates change once a day?
Yeah. And the truth of the matter is, when I talk to people, I say, listen, rates don't fluctuate a ton. They change every day, but it might be that
It's
the
hundreds.
rate we're looking at,
Yeah.
right, cost, and that's where people, I think, don't understand it. It's not that it goes from 2.875 to 2.75 then to 3%. It's subtle changes where the 2.75 on one day might have a $300 credit. The next day we look at it, oh, now it's got a $120 credit at that same rate. Okay, it goes up. Now it's a $400 cost to get that same rate. And so it's changing in these small increments. A day like February 16th, like yesterday, is not very often. We saw whenever something like this happens, people look back, like, when did we have change that was this dramatic? And there was one day in March of 2020, and there's other days, in the last few years, but it's unlikely they shift this much, but it's always a possibility. And so you don't want to be the person that looks back and go, gosh, I was going to save $4,400 a year in interest, and that made a lot of sense to refinance. Now it's, half of that. Right. Maybe it makes sense, but maybe it doesn't. You had your opportunity.
Yeah. Very cool. Any closing thoughts about rates and processes? Any reminders for folks as they're looking to potentially buy or refi in California?
Well, I think that the closing message and what we had to remind ourselves as a team as we were talking through some of this stuff yesterday is that when you're sub 3% on a 30-year fixed, it's still historically low.
Yeah. Go.
So even if rates ticked up more, which in all honesty, the market would benefit from.
Yeah.
If rates go up to 3.5, it's 3.5% long-term fixed rate debt. It's still historically low and a good interest rate. So don't pack your bags and just quit investing in real estate because rates went all the way to 2.9.
Yeah, I got to tell you, folks, again, I still believe 2021 is the year to get your single family, get 30-year fixed. Even if it goes to 3.5, I was doing deals above 6. So 3.5 is not the end of the world. So Matt, the mortgage guy, where can people find you if they have any interest in buying or selling or refining in California?
Shoot me and my team an email. It's the best way to not get lost in the shuffle. Matt, M-A-T-T, at mattthemortgageguy.com. If you're in California, I'm licensed to lend in California. If you're outside of California, I've got a great network to refer to, but lots of folks from the channel send me messages and I'm always happy. I can take 30 seconds and reply. And especially if it's out of state, I'm not biased. I have no skin in the game, nothing to gain from it. I just give folks good advice and I'm happy to do so.
Very cool, man. Well, I appreciate you. Have a wonderful day. We'll talk next week.
You too. Thanks, Mike.